Welcome everybody to another edition of WCW 2004 here in TW 2020, and it's time for Mayhem 2004, which will be the end of the Mayhem tournament, and with lots of big matches. But before that, after the opening, Eric Bischoff music comes out, and it's a very mixed pop because the smarter fans at the sold-out Houston Toyota Center in beautiful Houston, Texas, know what's going on, but the rest of the fans don't. So Bischoff takes the mic and says, as some of you may know, Jeff Hardy was sent home from the arena earlier today due to his own personal demons. He has accepted our offer of rehabilitation, and he will begin that work immediately. However, this does mean, at the moment, Shane Helms does not have an opponent in our main event tonight. Cue Shane Helms music to a tremendous heel pop as he comes out with the world title belt and he says, Bischoff, I want to thank you for telling everybody tonight just why their faith in Jeff Hardy or anybody else in the back is not put in the right place. Because Jeff Hardy was so scared to face me, he fell into his own demons once again. And now, I have the night off. So yes, all of you who are hoping this world title will go off my waist, too bad, because Shane Helms is still going to be world champion. He's going to walk into Starrcade. He is going to beat RVD and prove that he is the top wrestler in this business today. And there's nothing any of you can do about it except whine and cry that the greatest nice champion is going to become the greatest world champion. And Michelle's like, no. You see, as part of the world title contract, as with any world title match, there's a clause in there that allows for a reasonable substitution if circumstances get out of her way. But, Shane Helms versus Jeff Hardy is a big match. We've brought it up for a big match. And, you see, as the man put in charge of WCW by the executive committee, I have wide range to make any changes I want. So, Shane, the only thing I think is worthy for these fans to replace the main event tonight is not one opponent, not two opponents, not three opponents, crowd is popping, four opponents, but five opponents. No, yeah, four opponents rather. So, and I think I would like to announce you those opponents now. They will all be former world champions, and their names are Jeff Jarrett, boo, Canyon, pop, Booker, boo, and the former world champion, Sean O'Hare. Huge pop. And then, to a big heel reaction, Monty Brown, tries to walk, we see cut to, basically, the, backstage, not the backstage area, but Monty Brown trying to get in the building, and W officials, your security guards, aka indie guys, stopping him and saying, I should be in that match. Nobody can stop me. Then Bischoff is like, well, what can you do? So, Helms, I hope you're happy that you will be defending your world title tonight against four different men. And then Chuck Malone moves music as he comes out with Raven Rain, and he says, it's BS that O'Hare is in this title match. Because deep down that I deserve to be in that. Because I was actually in the Mayhem tournament. I was actually in matches this month. I didn't run away after I lost my title like O'Hare did. So let me in that match. Or there may not be a world title match. But I was like, usually I'd say no, but you have a point. And plus, what's more entertaining for you, Shane, than 4 points than 5? So there you go. Oh, and Shane, one more time. You're not going to be able to sneak in and get a quick pin off one guy like I have before in these kind of matches. No. Because tonight is elimination rules. There will be one man standing, and he'll be truly the man to face off against Rob Van Dam at Starrcade. Yes, so yeah. We've got a main event. It's unfortunately, so Jeff Hardy, yeah. I mean, I did, basically open up the booking screen, and they were right there. Jeff Hardy sent home. He's off to rehab. He did accept the job of rehab, so he'll probably be gone for a while. Yeah. So there we go. Unfortunately, Helms is gone, but the match, it must go on. Or the show must go on. before we have that in the main event, we've got the rest of the Mayhem tournament, and of course, several big matches here on the show tonight. But we start off tonight in the ring with Paul London versus Billy Kidman, and it is an absolute banger of the match. I mean, imagine your typical great mid-2000s match involving these guys. That happened on SmackDown a lot. Except in this version of the world, people actually care about the match. Billy Kidman is a huge overheel. Paul London is actually a pretty overbaby. He's just US champion. As London and Kidman, they actually do some flippy stuff. But there's also lots of big strikes, suplexes. Kidman tries to take over heel work, but London fights back. But in the end, this is quick strikes. In the end, Paul London goes for the shooting star press off the top as he enters to put over. This was his Kidman's little finisher, but Kidman rolls away, picks him up, boom, clean win, Kid Crusher, 1, 2, 3, and Billy Kidman advances into the Mayhem Tournament final ladder match. So yeah, this gets an 88, which was actually better than I thought it would do. I mean, I expected mid 80s, maybe low 80s, but yeah. So Kidman gets an 83, London gets an 83, 1052, and also the opening, I didn't show you guys, got an 89. So yeah, I mean, just a good opening, and that's a huge six-way instead of involving guys who didn't have anything going on the show instead of the main event, actually might turn out better. Anyway, and then after the match, of course, Kidman celebrates with April Hunter as a crowd boos, as he actually put over, he's the first man in the finals, as this gets a 68. We'll move on to our next match. That, of course, is Brother Ray versus Tank Toland. Of course, Tank Toland shocked the world by beating Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam in the tournament. Of course, he had lots of help in both instances, but here he is in the 8 with a chance at a huge victory and really make his name here in WCW. But he's up against Brother Ray, and that is his downfall. As Tank Toland sort of shit talks Brother Ray in the ring, and I'm gonna go in here. Brother Ray destroys him. Brother Ray turns around, and pop look at the crowd, look at this more, and Toland goes after him, but unfortunately, there's no backup. And Tank Toland is Tank Toland, and Brother Ray is Brother Ray. So Brother Ray just wins the brawling, throws him around, boom, bam, power slam, lariat, pulls him up, full Nelson bomb, 1, 2, 3. Not quite it's basically a complete squash. As put over that Tank Toland sort of miracle run has ended here, and Brother Ray is in the finals. This gets a 68. I didn't have a dominant win, but this wasn't open at all. As this gets a 68, Brother Ray gets a 77, Tank Toland gets a 55. But, as Brother Ray is celebrating, though, out of nowhere, Tank Toland whops him, drills him from behind with a chair, and hits him with several chair shots in a row as Donry, cheers it on before the officials run in, break it off. What looks like Tank Toland is very upset about Brother Ray, dominating him, and got some measure of revenge here tonight at Mayhem. So how does this affect Brother Ray? I mean, he gets up and he brushes off officials and walks to the back, not looking it's not an injury angle, but it's he's a big guy and unfortunately kind of hurt here. As we move forward on to the next match in the Mayhem Tournament, Elite 8. So the next big match of the evening is AJ Styles versus Rey Mysterio Jr. Of course, they had a match way back at Great American Bash, which AJ Styles won in a huge match for his career. And this time they face off once again, and again, it's a really solid match, but A, it's a face-face thing, and B, AJ is really, really good, but he's not super over yet, and Ray's fatigued. I've had him in a lot of matches, in a lot of long matches recently. So he's feeling it a little bit. So this match wasn't quite the super banger you think it would be, and with their ratings, honestly. But it's a back and forth match. It's AJ and Ray, so it's really, really good. It's AJ and end of 2004, Ray in 2004. So of course, lots of high flipping moves, lots of strikes, reversals, reversals, cradle, small packages, Frankensteiners power bombs, dives, moonsault DDTs, big flying cross bodies. Ray hitting that West Coast pop for a near fall, but eventually AJ actually reverses the springboard hurricane into a powerbomb, then turns it right into a Styles clash. 1, 2, 3. AJ Styles continues his huge run in this tournament and advances into the finals. So yeah, as you can see, this gets a 78. AJ got an 88, Ray got a 93 because they're most awesome. But unfortunately, yeah, if you look at the actual... So, Rey Jr. was penalized for being fatigued. Poor game for Rey Jr., which I'll fix eventually, but not the end of the world. Face heel combination and lack of heat from the associated storyline, but still. Not the end of the world, because, And, AJ is celebrating. Rey turns around, Rey's up, taps on the shoulder. AJ, turns around, and there's a moment of tension, but then Rey extends his hand, pulls him in for a hug, handshake. Everybody's happy. Good old baby faces as we continue on. 69, as AJ is now in the finals. Along with, now, Kidman and Brother Rey. And in the final match of the Mayhem tournament, we've got Eddy Guerrero versus Elix Wright. And this is a very good match. Eddy is, of course, been a hot streak since he turned heel. Elix has been very successful so far. And, at the beginning, despite the fact, these guys don't like each other, it's actually, a wrestling match a bit. As they, go after strikes, holds, takedowns, ready, Eddy going for the, last for El Paso, or the Guerrero camel clutch, but Wright fighting out of it, putting on his old holds. But eventually the match does break down into a fight. Eddy cheats to get an advantage, or eventually fires back with his own strikes, hits a big, Mafia / Lazooka style kick, not stick, goes for the double RDT, but Eddy gets out of it, back and forth. But eventually Eddy is Eddy Guerrero, and he's, one of the better wrestlers in the world, of course. One could argue the best wrestler in the world, even though he's not the world title anymore. But Elix Wright is really good, so he's able to get a few big moves in here. A huge superplex by Wright near the end, and gets in here for all of that. He goes for an Indian deathlock, but Eddy gets out of it. Then Eddy, eventually, of course, being Eddy, hits Wright with a low blow when the ref is distracted. Blue Thunder Bomb, Brainbuster, Frog Splash, 1, 2, 3. Eddy advances into the into the finals. And yeah, Eddy, overall the match gets an 84. Eddy gets a 92. Elix Wright gets an 80. And huge win for Eddy Guerrero as he advances into the finals. And that makes the final set as Eddy Guerrero versus Billy Kidman versus Brother Rey versus AJ Styles. And Eddy got a... Okay, so... So something wacky ended up and get the low blow, but yeah, great stuff. Eddy celebrates efforts to a 68 as we move forward in the show. The next match in the show is the women's triple threat match between, of course, the bronze bruisers of former women's champions Lynn Cartier and Jordyn Cole, the rising up new young team of Nattie, Neidhart, and Roni, and of course the sort of stronger, one of the two of the strongest heels in the women's division, Nikita Colt and Michinoku. And of course, it's mostly because both of the face teams have sort of accidentally got involved in each other's matches against European Disunion. European Disunion have used that advantage to go after both women, and now they're in a match together, trying to make an impact. And this is a very solid match. Not the best match in the world because these women aren't too great yet, but back and forth. European Disunion basically play heels, Colt going for locking in holds, music throwing people around with some suplexes and some arch strikes. The women all getting their spots in. The baby faces, eventually the baby faces are facing each other either, but there's some tension, but they do wrestle mostly clean. Celine Cartier actually gets a few big suplexes in on Michinoku. The Neidhart makes a save. There's a bit of a brawl between those two women, but eventually things break apart. It's all 6 women in, but with a huge victory. Jordyn Cole actually reverses Nikita Colt's attempt at a submission into a crucifix of her own, and then is able to break into that. And with nowhere to go, Jordyn Cole gets the big victory here, 1, 2, 3, over a former women's champion in Nikita Colt, as she gets a pinfall victory after about 10 minutes. And overall, this match got a 64, so solid stuff again for the women's division, especially not involving either Joni or 2 other former WWE women. As Celine Cartier gets a 65, Jordyn Cole gets a 53, Joni gets a 39, Nattie gets a 38, Michinoku gets a 58, and Nikita Colt gets a 64. And after the match, there's another bit of tension, but the other Nattie and Roni, raise the winning woman's hands, and looks like everything is okay. The babyfaces are getting along together, unfortunately for the heels, as European Disunion just sort of sulk off to the back. But big win for Jordyn Cole and Celine Cartier as they get the big win here at Mayhem. Now it's time for a big singles match, as it's Keenan Sharpe taking on Yoshiro Tajiri with the US title on the line. Of course, Keenan Sharpe, after getting eliminated from the Mayhem tournament, went to Bischoff and wanted another shot at the US title. But to earn that shot, he wanted, Bischoff told him he had to defeat the former US champion in Tajiri. And of course, these men have faced off a few times before, and it looks like this will be the closing chapter to their feud. And Sharpe comes out with sort of like a bruised eye socket for his former injury. And unfortunately, this match is hurt by the fact it was their fourth time, and due to that injury, it wasn't quite as good as the other matches. So I just sort of like imagine this being a little stilted, just because like they faced each other before. Tajiri hasn't been doing much on the show. Sharpe just got eliminated and sort of like been stuck in the morass of the mid card. And unfortunately, this match does underperform by quite a lot because of the penalty. And in the end, Sharpe does his Muay moves and his submissions, but Tajiri fights out of it. Eventually, Tajiri hits a few big moves in a row, hits the buzzsaw kick, and then picks him up, brainbuster. 1, 2, 3. Big pinfall victory for Tajiri as he earns the US title shot. And as we go to the actual match itself, so this gets a 55. Tajiri got a 71, Sharpe got a 74. Injury took a big toll, and fourth time to match. But we're going to change Tajiri's gimmick to Miss-Spitter, and it got inadequate. So that's still not great, but still his gimmick was stale, so we did that. But yeah, it's just sort of like a match I had to get through because I saw it didn't do great. Unfortunately, that stuff does happen. And post-match, Tajiri celebrates to the cheers of the crowd, which gets a 71. As Andrew was put over, he now has a huge shot to win back his United States champion against Jonathan Toro at a time near in the future. Now it's time for another big singles match, as Lynn made his shocking debut here in WCW. Basically at Shane Helms, the world champion's beck and call, attacking RVD and, wanting some revenge on RVD after their many, many encounters in ECW. But now in Houston at Mayhem, they're going face off one more time. And honestly, this match was basically like a 13 minute version of their best spots. So we get the back and forth, the indie standoff, which was, I guess, just an ECW standoff back then. Some brawling, a plancha, a table break by somebody on somebody, Lynn going for a cradle pile driver earlier, but RVD reversing it, Rolling Thunder getting a near fall. But in the end, it's RVD. So he eventually gains the advantage. Lynn does his best. And he really does fight, and he looks good here. He doesn't, even though he's, been attacking RVD, there's no real heel tactics outside of, tables and chairs, but this is, an ECW style of matches. The Hunters put over, both men told the referee to, keep things relaxed as far as the rules. But in the end, RVD hits the Van Daminator, goes up top, 5-star spark flash, 1, 2, 3, and RVD gets the big victory a month out from his title shot at Starrcade. And so this match got an 82, RVD got an 89, Lynn only got a 53, 82 overall because of pretty good chemistry. And this should not be a shocker as far as result. But honestly, I saw a few months back, Lynn left WWE, and that when I did the booking for the second half of the year, originally I was going to do some wacky tag, but this seemed like a good idea because of course originally it's sort of going to be the past of each man as RVD and Lynn and Shane Helms plus Jeff Hardy. Thanks, Jeff, for sort of ruining that. But here, RVD still gets the big win here. And he celebrates. And he's going to move on to his celebration. When Jordyn and Lynn, again, I probably should have done this twice in one show, but, what can you do? Actually turns around, and RVD's, ready to fight. But Lynn extends his hand. They shake, and then Lynn walks away before RVD does his taunt. As put over, Jordyn Lynn may have just used Shane Helms to get a shot to get into WCW for another match with his former rival Rob Van Dam. So that's interesting that Lynn seems to have shaken hands and is now done with RVD. But now we move on. But we don't move on to a match as we go backstage where Shane O'Haire is backstage and Chuck Palumbo confronts him. And O'Haire's like, I'm not going to start a fight with you, Palumbo, before the match. This is my opportunity to win back the world title. And if I win that back, guess what? I'll take care of you later, because that means I've got a main event at Starrcade against somebody with real talent like Van Dam. And that's the match people want to see. They want to see me defending against somebody they support like Van Dam to truly prove is the better man, not you sticking your necks and things. And I was like, that's not going to happen. You're not going to become the world champion again tonight. And Plum was like, and O'Hare's like, what? Are you going to, like, are you think you're going to take me out in the match before I'm in the final two? No, you're just, because you're in for a future shock here. Think that. And Plum was like, no, you're not going to even make it to the match. As then, like, somebody taps, like, he sees, like, somebody tap Plumbo on the shoulder. Just tap O'Hare on the shoulder. He turns around to see Raven Rain spraying him in the face with spray paint. And Palumbo then knocking him from behind. And the beatdown is on. Like, O'Hare tries to fight back, but, he's basically blinded as he just gets tossed to the backstage area before WCW officials, like, break things up. He's just beating the crap out of O'Hare. And Bischoff, like, after a minute, comes in and says, come on, Palumbo, did you really think I was going to let this go? Like, and he, like, points to the officials to check O'Hare, and then he points to Palumbo, get out of here, you're out of the match. And just to put this over, sooner than later, get officially from WCW officials, Sean O'Hare is not being cleared for the match, so it's now going to be a four-way, still a 44-way match, still elimination, but only four-way in the main event tonight. So for once, but the entrance to for once, Sean O'Hare has been taken out before a possible big match by his former friend Sharpe Palumbo, and this only means these two men will only despise each other more after this. But speaking of crazy matches, and by the way, I didn't mean to make this like four ways on one show, but what can you do? So yeah, this is just like basically. Let me see if there's anything. Nope. And okay, Teddy Hart, Jack Evans, Reno. Nope. Okay. Nothing. Okay, so basically, this is Deadpool. It's America's Wanted, it's Hart Legacy, and it's the Silver City Rollers, all in the match for the tag team titles. And what happens first is like there's basically a four-way face-off as the bell rings, and everybody else except for the tag champs like look at each other, like they sort of like nod at each other, and they all go after Mesias, and like they all like heels, baby faces, like A&W hit him, Reno hits him with a big lariat, Cash hits him immediately with a sort of like top rope dive. Both Hart Legacy hit him with dives, and finally America's Wanted hit him with a version of the death sentence, and Mesias like has to roll outside to avoid the attack, and then a normal match starts as then A&W go after Hart Legacy. Morningstar, obviously upset, goes after Cash, and it's just complete mayhem from the start here on Mayhem as everybody's going after everybody. There's in the first 4 or 5 minutes there's lots of attempted near falls, but breaks everybody up. But eventually Mesias has recovered because obviously 6-on-1 is hard, but he's still the monster Mesias. So he comes back in the ring. He just causes chaos. He throws everybody around, choke slams, throws out to the outside, big lariats, belly to bellies out of nowhere. But eventually, everybody recovers. Hart and Teddy Hart and Jack Evans comes in, and they both hit him with a double drop kick. Reno hits him with a big lariat, but then Morningstar comes in and attacks him, and it's chaos again with Mesias throwing people around. And eventually, A&W actually come in with chairs and nail Mesias with both, with a big chair shot, followed by a huge, double super kick from the Hart Legacy, and then Cash Reno lariat him to the outside, where then Hart Legacy hit him with big dives again, and then Cash hits him with a, moonsault from the top rope. So he's down again. For Morningstar actually hits a dive on everybody else on the outside, so everybody's down. And after from recovery, in lots of near falls again, but eventually, after another few minutes of Mesias being out, he recovers, and now he's really upset, and he just destroys people. Reno is actually its first hit because he's the biggest guy, and he gets nailed with a huge choke slam. Merciless Wanna get nailed with a big double lariat, and then they both get tossed to the outside. Cash just dives to the outside to avoid the hit, but unfortunately that leaves just a Hart Legacy on their own, and boom, chokeslam on both men at the same time. Jack Evans is out. Teddy Hart gets picked up. Boom, crucifix powerbomb. 1, 2, 3. Mesias and Morningstar recover and retain the tag titles. So yeah, this gets a 78. Morningstar gets his 80, Mesias gets an 88. Jack Evans gets a 79, Teddy Hart gets a 67, Reno gets a 75, Cash gets an 83, James Storm gets a 76, Chris Hart gets a 73. Just like an insane, chaos match, like I said, mayhem match. But Mesias and Morningstar get the big victory here, and their first defense of the tag titles. And of course, Teddy Hart's also out. So it looks like, Jack Evans is also out. So even though he tries for a little bit of a comeback, Morningstar nails him with the angel wings. And it looks like Mesias is going to hit with a crucifix powerbomb when Seek and Destroy hits out of nowhere. And Sting repels down to the ring, nails Morningstar with a bat, nails Mesias with a bat, throws him over the top rope, drills Morningstar again as he gets up, and then sends him over the top rope, and points at both men as a crowd pops, as after being gone since, I believe, September, Sting is back and is aiming straight for Mesias and Morningstar once again, as this gets an 81, as Sting is back. But after that is cleared and, Sting leaves, Hart Legacy, get their pop for being with their Sting, it's time for a kind of match came out of nowhere as TAKA Michinoku made his return to the WCW after, I think, basically a year, being on for nearly a year, being the one to challenge the skipper. And even though we weren't sure, aka I didn't know if there would be time on the show or not, it looked like TAKA Michinoku make wait for the crowd, as the intro was put over that the officials did make this match in the last few days, as the skipper then comes down, and it's a really solid match. Skipper's really slowly getting over. TAKA's decently over. Of course, these are really good in the ring, and that's what this match is based on. These guys, it's not like a high spots match or steel shirt match. It's just like Skipper doing cocky heel shit. TAKA actually firing bad at it because he's still TAKA, so he's still a bit of a prick, even though he's a babyface. But eventually, what happens here is TAKA actually is hitting several big moves in a row, big aside moonsault, hits him with a fisherman buster, and actually gets hits the Michinoku driver late, but Skipper barely gets his foot on the ropes. And eventually, Skipper, there's TAKA's back on offense when Skipper rolls into the corner. Or no, Skipper gets tossed. Actually, Skipper tosses TAKA to the outside, hits a big dive. Then when they're both on the outside, Skipper grabs the cruiserweight belt off of the ringside table, and right in front of the ring, drills TAKA with it on the outside. Intentionally DQ'd, but he retains the title as crowd boos. But Skipper doesn't care. So 72, which is actually a really good match, as Skipper gets a 662, TAKA gets a 59, but it's helped by these guys really being over. Or not over, but being really good. And Skipper runs off with the title as TAKA eventually recovers and is in the ring very upset, pushing the ref away. As this appears that Skipper, despite his talks about clearing out division, was very worried about TAKA Michinoku taking that cruiserweight title from, as this gets a 50. And after quite a few months since she made her debut here in WCW, Tricia Sky finally gets her match against Lizzy Dumas. And for both women, this is a proving ground, a final battle to prove who is really the best woman coming from someplace else, even though, of course, our women's champion would have and their work to go with that. But this is, go back and watch any pretty good Trish lead a match from this area, and this is what it's like. It's back and forth. Trish doing Trish stuff, Lizzy doing some high flying, but also doing some brawling and heel shenanigans. No interference here. And in the end, Lizzy goes for the moonsault, avoids it. Trish hits the chick hit, hits the sky's limit, aka Satisfaction. 1, 2, 3, clean victory right in the middle. Nothing going on, just a totally clean victory for Tricia as she looks to move on. As this match got a 71, so kind of disappointing. Honestly, I was hoping for high 70s, but Lizzy was off her game. Trish got a 79. Lizzy got a 68, so might have been a 74, 75 without the offer game note. But, not the end of the world. As post-match, Tricia celebrates and makes title belt motions. So it looks like after months of dealing with her former enemy here in up north, Tricia Sky is now focused and ready to take on battle for that WCW Women's World title as we move forward here at Mayhem. But before we move forward, the announcers, we get a quick little video made up of Kidman's, AJ's, Brother Ray's, and Eddie Guerrero's path to the finals here, as all men make their way out to out to the ringside for our final here for the Mayhem tournament, for the called shot, a title shot any point in a year afterwards here. And now it's time. Let's see what happens. So this match is, as you expect, absolutely goddamn awesome. Like, it's, insert any great Money in the Bank spots that you want to hear, as AJ Styles flying around, Billy Kidman being a heel prick, but also like doing some ladder spots, like kneeling people the ladder, coming off the ladder, suplexes on the ladder, Brother Rey being the master of plunder, and also just being a basis for everybody's flips, Eddy Guerrero sneaking in, like actually like opening like just like low blows, chair shots, powerbomb onto a ladder, sunset flip, AJ hitting a sunset flip off a ladder onto onto Eddy, Brother Rey, getting nailed planches all the time, but fighting back with brawling of his own. Teaming up between Brother Rey and AJ, as AJ, hits a moonsault to DT, and then Brother Rey powerbombs somebody through a table that's been set up. Kidman coming back in, like, fighting each other. But near the end, like, what happens here? And I should have actually done some, like, I should have risked it and put some people through some spots, but I forgot to add that. But still, this didn't hurt the match, honestly. As the first, like, ending spot is Brother Rey getting reversed, like, trying to hit Kidman with a powerbomb from the outside, but Kidman turning it into a sunset flower bomb through a ladder outside, and it looks like both men are out. Eddy hits a low blow on AJ and is going up the top, but AJ recovers, and both men are fighting on top. Looks like AJ actually brawls and looks like he's going to knock Eddy off the top when Kidman slowly recovers. And as both men are on top, so close to the call shot, Kidman pushes a ladder over. Both men fall to the floor through a table. And Kidman quickly sets up a ladder, gets up to the top rope, and grabs the call shot and wins the Mayhem tournament. And this match gets a 90 freaking 6. So yeah, Kidman gets an 84, AJ Styles gets an 88, Eddy Guerrero gets a 92, and Brother Rey gets an 80, as Kidman wins the Mayhem tournament title and the called shot at any opportunity. And yeah, 96. Let me see if there's anything particular that really got this over. Gimmicks, road rage work, hot crowd. And okay, so this could have been 100 because Kidman and AJ Styles were both fatigued. Insane. And post-match, the Triumvirate come down to ringside, and they all celebrate as Yamato put over. This is a huge opportunity for Billy Kidman, as he now has the call shot. He can call that shot at any time. As this gets an 80, and now it's time to move on to our main event. And for everybody thinking, I'll go over the predictions after the show. So hold on for that for a moment. But first, before that, we get everybody's entrances. We got, Jeff Jarrett, Booker T, Keenan, and Shane Helms all coming down the ringside to a big reaction as the announcers really put over what a gigantic hill this is to climb for Shane Helms, as the announcers openly talk about Booker RVD reclaiming their rivalry, Jeff Jarrett and Ravi Dam also restarting the rivalry if he's the world champion. A huge match between Keenan and RVD, battle of two of the top stars in wrestling today. But heel Jerry are just trying to point out, Shane Helms is the world champion for a reason, and he could walk out here as the champion, but it's going to be very, very tough. And now it's time for that match. World title, 4-way elimination match. So, right at the start of the match, it looks like it's going to be every heel going after Keenan. That's what the match is early on, as it's Keenan fighting off both men, but eventually Keenan actually is the hot one, as basically looks like this heel starts at Jeff Jarrett coming in, Booker T doing the beatdown, Shane Helms doing the beatdown eventually. But what happens first is Shane Helms is going for No, Booker T is going for the bookend, but boom, cannon cutter. Jarrett comes in, boom, cannon cutter. Shane Helms comes in, boom, cannon cutter. And it actually looks he's going to get the quick pinfall victory on Booker T, but Jarrett makes a save at the last second as the heel beatdown continues. But Keenan ducks under a big old clothesline attempt, hits both men, and then comes over and wallops Shane Helms down. And then he goes for the flatliner on Booker T, but Jeff Jarrett comes from behind and drills him again. But then, shockingly, Booker then goes after Jarrett as he wants the pinfall victory, as those two men start to fight. And as the referee tries to break them apart, Shane Helms comes in and goes for a cheap attack on Keenan, but Kanan's ready for him and hits a huge Keenan cutter. Boom. 1, 2, 3 visual pinfall, but of course Shane Helms is not the legal man. Eventually, Booker T and Jeff Jarrett fighting gives Keenan a moment in as Jeff Jarrett is yelling at Booker T to stay out of his ring. He turns around, boom, cannon cutter. About 10 minutes in, 1, 2, 3. Jeff Jarrett is eliminated first here at Mayhem. And then it's Booker T. Booker T laughs at Jarrett. So actually, as Booker T is turning around, Jarrett comes in and just wallops Booker as he's getting ready to face off against Keenan with a guitar shot. And Keenan, of course, not looking to get horse in the mouth, so that happens after a couple minutes after Keenan and Booker are fighting. As Jarrett is upset, he goes to the back, he comes back out and drills Booker with a guitar, and then that allows Keenan to get to 1, 2, 3. And then we have our actual, basically our final match, which is supposed to be, and it's Shane Helms versus Keenan, and it's really good, really solid. But what happens is every time Keenan looks like he's going for one of his finishers or a big move, Helms reverses it. Keenan cutter pushes him off. Flatliner fights out of it. And Helms eventually drills Keenan with a super kick. No, what happens is, Keenan goes for a cannon cutter one last time. Helms pushes him off. Boom, super kick. Comes off the corner and hits a quick Nightmare on Helm Street. Puts his foot on the ropes. 1, 2, 3. Shane Helms is still your world champion. Unfortunately, this match got an 81. It's the main thing looked to be the low heat from one of the storylines, but I'm not 1% sure that's even true. I think this was just maybe it got dinged for being a 4-way. As looking at the percentages here, this should have been probably an 87, I was thinking. So I don't think the low heat would have hurt for 5 points. So there's something else going along. Unfortunately, not our best main event, but still really solid. As Helms gets an 81 here. Like I said, Helms got an 86, Kenny got a 93 because he's awesome, Booker gets an 85, and Jarrett gets a 91 because he's friggin' awesome. And post-match, RVD comes down, and there's a giant face-off as the Hunter's put over. Then in City Brotherly Love, Rob Van Dam will get a chance to become world champion in front of what we can only imagine will be one of the most partisan crowds in WCW history. And overall, this show gets us a 80. Yeah, okay. So what we really got dinged here was Shane Helms versus Jeff Hardy was pre-booked. And of course, Jeff Hardy did Jeff Hardy things. So there we go. So show itself probably could have gotten an 85 or so, but unfortunately. So actually, Shane Helms. Where are we? Nope, not insulted. That was a good example. What was actually, yeah. But then Eddy, great performance, and the other guy who did the drop, we'll give AJ praise for a great performance. There we go. So yeah, that's a show. Like I said, disappointing because of the no main event, and honestly, that main event was really not as good as I thought it was going to be, which is unfortunate. But now we're going on to the new month, 4 weeks till Starrcade. So we'll double check some popularity. Of course, we'll go over the actual final results of the Mayhem tournament here. Because of course, if you noticed, and anybody actually paying attention, nobody's prediction actually won. That means the results of the finals is the semifinal. Elite 8 is what will determine the winner, which why I didn't show it after the 8. So, wow, okay, that's lots of winners. Yeah. Let me just look here. How did that hurt us? Okay, only 92, so not the end of the world. Anyway, Daniel Pewter, Nick Mitchell, great. Dan and Rod were signed for WWE. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Also, as a side note, Saturday night will be ending for a variety of reasons, but I just had to do all the last full shows. Anyway, so yeah, lots of contracts ending here, which I'll deal with on my own. But the results. So here are the results of the tournament. I mean, not the tournament, but the actual finals of the prediction tournament. So in last place, unfortunately, Cameron, you got 22 points. Um, have you were lucky that you had Eddy in the finals, but you didn't pick a winner. But didn't help that Eddy didn't win anyway. World Championship, you had Palumbo as a winner, but still solid, so 24. Now here's anything which I'll figure out who was second or third here in a second. As Shook, who had Hardy as the winner, which is hilarious considering what happened in the show, had 27, and Just Frank at 101 had Styles as a winner, so he at least got in the finals at 27. But Selective Sable gets the win here with 36 because he actually had two people in the finals, even though he had Jeff Jarrett as the winner. Jeff Jarrett was kind of winner because he was actually the main event, so he probably got a bigger paycheck. But regardless, for who determined Jeff Frank versus Shook, here's what I'm going to do. So I accidentally hit pause and stopped recording for a second there, so you didn't see what happened. So basically, what I did, I went by who had more final. What's word here? Final, who had the most actual predictions, rate as opposed to points. And Just Frank had 17, Shook had 15. So Just Frank gets in second, Shook gets third, Sable wins. And as I noted, if you, not if, I'm being brain dead, I'll either email or message you depending on what mode of contact you signed up for on the site for your finals. And don't worry, I'll explain all your prizes you win as far as pushes, depushes, dev signings, dev releases, all that good stuff. Of course, for some of that stuff, you can wait till the end of the year stuff where I go over the whole entire roster, all that fun stuff. Or you can just do stuff early if you've been paying attention. That's totally up to you. But hey, also, I did check overness and stuff for people. I basically kind of just don't want to do it again, but I'll go over the big stuff. AJ's really over. On the downside, Shane Helms, after beating 3 of the most over people in the company, totally hit a pop cap, which means this is going to be his only world title reign in WCW. I'll just be open about that unless something really weird happens. Let's see here. Was there anything else of note I wanted to show you guys? TAKA got a little more over by winning by DQ. Everybody like RVD, Ray Jr., Sting got a little more over by attacking Mesias Morningstar, but all the people you'd expect really be over were really hurt. Nobody was really hurt by any of their losses, which is good. So yeah, nothing of that exciting to actually show you guys. But creative-wise, Goldberg's number 1, RVD's number 2, Eddy's number 3, Ray Jr.'s number 4, and Jeff Hardy's number 5. God damn you. Now I know how every major federation in the world, WWE, TNA, AEW, has felt. Anyway. But yeah, the show's off they got an 80, which is unfortunate. But yeah. Oh, other thing I think, yeah. So merch-wise, this is November, so the only big shift here is a Palumbo drop from 3rd to 10th because he turned heel. But otherwise, no other big changes. Ray Jr.'s up to 3rd from 7th, but yeah, that's about it. Size-wise, we're actually gaining slightly. Yeah, we're not, usually, Canada, we're getting a little more over. We've hit our pop cap in Canada because of the size of our deal, which I'll probably change at some point. Mexico's, we're stupidly over. British Isles, stupidly over. Japan, we're the number 1 thing in the company. Europe, we're rising weirdly. And yeah, same thing in Oceania. So fun stuff. But yeah, outside of the wackiness with Jeff Hardy going to rehab, which let's just see here for fun. Jeff Hardy's, okay, basically 6 months. So yeah. Hardy. So yeah, I mean, I'm not that upset about the finals, but yeah. So, big stuff. Main tournament winner is Billy Kidman. Cruiserweight champion still Skipper. Women's World Champion still joining Lawler because she didn't wrestle last night, but later Sky's aiming for her. US Champion is Jonathan Turbo, but he'll have to defend against Tajiri at some point. World TV Champion is still Jason Jett because he's been doing stuff on Saturday night. World Tag Titles are still Mesias Morningstar, but Sting is now going after him. And still, your World Champion facing off against Rob Van Dam at Starcade. So actually, let me do that on screen for you guys. Group booking. Oh, it's already there. Okay, never mind. Shane versus Rob Van Dam. Starcade. There you go. But that's it. So if you enjoyed the show, go ahead and give it a like. Comment below what you're liking and not liking. And of course, subscribe to your channel for TEW 2020 content and possibly some other stuff. I know I've said that plenty of times, but this time it might actually be true. But that's it for now. So talk later and adios.